Welcome back to What's Your Story here on Horror Fiend TV. And for this episode, well, like I told you before, we basically alternate movies we pick. And Lexi brought this one up. I don't remember watching it, so was a first watch for me. So, um, before I continue, here's my lovely co-host, Lexi, the fourth corner. How you doing?
Hey, good. I've been sick for 2 weeks, so I'm glad to finally feel better and be back on the channel because I missed you guys last week for the live stream, actually. So I wanted to be with you guys, but I was dying.
Yeah, I think I missed that live stream too. So it was just
Oh, yeah, you weren't there. I
yeah,
was in the
no, it was
comments. I was watching from bed, but
Very little is known about the disease, but what we do know is beyond disturbing.
It is believed children are the carriers.
They beat the virus. The new problem was us.
What do you want?
Please, you have to help him. He's shot.
Don't worry. I won't say anything. I'll make some cookies.
Did you treat your own daughter like this?
Shut up.
All right, so before I talk about the film, hey, you see the name below. This was actually the first directorial debut of Destry Alien Spielberg. If you recognize the last name, yes, this is Steven Spielberg's daughter. First feature full length film. She did two short films. I know she has another one on the way, but this is her first as far as full feature film. And we're going to be talking about the 2024 film, Please Don't Feed the Children. Just that title alone, you don't. It just sounds so mean. But the reason
right.
why, which we'll talk about, yeah. But this film, it stars the great actress Michelle Dockery, who she plays Clara. It stars Zoe Coletti, who plays Mary. It stars the great Giancarlo Esposito as Fitz. Even though I kind of wanted him more in the film, but we'll talk about that, a little
Agree.
bit later. And Dean Scott Vasquez as Jeffy. So this film is about it's a little bit in the future. There was this massive zombie outbreak. There's a virus going on, and unfortunately, the children are the ones that are asymptomatic, so they're actually hunted down because the belief is that they're at fault of this virus, which mostly affects adults. Which talk about a little bit later in the film. It's something that happens in the film that I have a question about too. But yeah, so this is going to be interesting, discussion because this film, I'll say right off the bat, I love films that are isolated as far as locations, and give me a house in the middle of nowhere. I'm all for it because I just think
A
that
beautiful house, may I add.
it is a gorgeous house. I mean, I wish I would live there because that property is just gorgeous.
That's
But
like a
yeah,
dream for sure.
oh, definitely. So as far as we were saying, when there's involves children, we have this collection of children we meet at the beginning. So I gotta ask you right off the bat, Lexi, I mean, you picked this film. Like, what did you think of the idea of using orphans as the main part of this film?
Right. So I went into this blindly. The reason why I picked it was because of the title. It was such a strong title. Please don't feed the children. Like, I have my daughter. Like, what you mean not feed my kids? So I wanted to know. I was a little nosy. I wanted to know the use of. I mean, right off the bat, you get the news, breaking news outbreak. There's a virus, and I'm like, okay, cool. We're going into an apocalyptic vibe. Okay, but the use of the orphans I thought was interesting because I felt like the way they set it up, it was different. And it set itself apart from other zombie films. Like it's the typical, oh, you get bit, you change, and then we're off to a whole high speed movie where we're getting chased by zombies and running for our life for survival. The twist with this one is that the children apparently, what was it? They didn't get infected or something.
Yeah, they're
And there
asymptomatic. They
was
carry the virus.
yeah, they were asymptomatic. And so I thought that was interesting because usually in other films you get bit, you're bit. It doesn't matter if you're adult. But I thought it was interesting that it was very specific, not over the age 18, and there was no cure, which I think that's all zombie films, right? So
Yeah.
I do like the use of the orphans because I felt like the way they set it up, some of these parents either died. Well, I mean, because there was a big wipeout of the virus. So obviously their parents either died, or I'm like, did they give up their children? So I was a little confused in the beginning, like, what happened? Did they give up because they're scared? So let's not feed the children. Like, what is this about? So I liked the setup, and it lured me in as the cold open. And the security, national security, it looked like military, I guess. They catch the girl and Jeffy. I forget the girl's name. Not Clara. Clara's
Mary. Yeah.
Mary, that's right.
Yeah.
Mary and Jeffy, like, they take off and they end up, in his little hideout. So I liked the setup. I was intrigued. But what do you think?
I mean, I did like the use of the orphans. I mean, it was interesting to have kids as, basically your prime. I would say protagonists, even though they were more antagonists in this film than anything.
Yeah.
But it's like I like the fact that we got introduced to Mary, who is suffering from PTSD because apparently, her sister Lily was shot in the head.
Heartbreaking.
Which she's going through that. She's keeping it to herself. She stumbled upon this group, like you were saying, and you have Ben, you have Seth, and you have this little group. I mean, it's like the little rascals, basically, but set in this time.
The
But
Lost Boys.
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of interesting things, with these characters, and I kind of like that we got introduced to those characters from the beginning. Now, what the next stage as after we meet these characters is we find out what they do to survive. And unfortunately, there was a robbery that went wrong. So after the robbery went wrong, they basically, they have to escape. And in the process, Ben gets shot. So they have to get, medical aid for him. But they run out of gas, which is funny in a way because Heffy was supposed to get the gas and he totally forgot it.
He ends up
left it
dropping
behind him as he's running, because there was, Mary shot the store clerk and the store clerk shot Ben, and then there was a little, small shootout. But, we get this view of this house. And like we were saying before, that house is just gorgeous. I mean, what did you think of the fact that this is going to be the location of the movie, this house that they found?
I loved the setting. I was like, dang, let me move in. I loved the setting, the house. It's isolated. It's out in the middle of nowhere. I don't remember like where it took place. Like, oh, well, because they were close to the border of Mexico, right? She was trying to get across the border. So somewhere on the skirts of that border. But I liked that it was isolated. Probably could scream as loud as you want to. Nobody's going to hear you unless, the officer comes in. And we'll get to him in a sec. But I did like the setting. Lady Clara, she was very nice and kind. She seeks, or not seeks, but they seek aid and she helps. She was nervous at first because, again, don't feed the children, right? So I'm still like reeled in, like, okay, why can't we feed them again? Like, so I'm like still in a little bit of confusion at this point, but I get where it's going, except I was completely shocked where it went. So it's like, what? Yeah, I did like the setting of the house. We'll dive more deep into it, but I wanted more, and I'll explain that.
It was a beautiful house. I mean, you got Heffy walking around, he's trying to break in and sets off the alarm. I like the scene where he's walking around and you see the silhouette of Clara on the inside sitting on the chair, knowing that there's somebody out there. Visually, there was a lot of stuff with this house. I like how it was done, especially with the lighting, the red's always, crucial. And
I liked that part because of the alarm, it wrapped around the whole house. And I was like, oh shit, people are going to know because they said the police are looking for them. So I'm like, oh fuck, these kids are so fucked. They're going to get shot because I felt like a little martial's law was going on. So they're about to go down. And
the fact that the alarm goes off, everything turns red, and then the next scene where you have red is basically the room that. Well, bet you what happens is Claire, being protective, she was smart. I mean, she set them up with cookies, drugged the cookies. In the process of her drugging up the cookies, these kids they want to steal her car because they went out. So even though she cared for Ben's wounds, they wanted out. They know they had to keep going on the run because the cops are going to eventually show up. And then, the screwed up part is they're willing to leave Mary behind because they don't trust Mary,
Yeah.
which we'll dive a little bit more into that later. But, you had this whole setup where you're wondering the motives of both Clara and the kids. I mean, they had an opportunity to kind of just chill there for a little bit, even though we eventually find out what she's up to. But being the fact that they try to steal her car, it set it up even more where she isolated Mary into like her own little bedroom, and then took the rest of them into the attic. To well, you'll find out later what was the reason for it, because she had a secret that she was kind of keeping in, which we'll mention it, in a bit. But one of the things we started seeing is that there was obviously something happening with Clara, as far as I believe she had a child named Lauren. And this is one of the things where it kind of sets it up the way she looks at Mary. So, what did you think about that? The fact that you had, what were your thoughts of like this relationship that Clara was trying to get from Mary?
I really liked Clara as a character because I feel like, being What's Your Story, our show, the story is Clara and Lauren, the daughter. Now she did talk about the husband a little bit, but I thought like she was off, he's off doing police work. This is the way she said it. So I'm thinking, when's he coming home? Because now I'm scared for like the kids. She's locking them up. The husband's about to come up. What's going on? So, but with Clara and Lauren, I felt bad for Clara almost. I get where she's coming from, but it's so fucked to keep all these kids captive. And when it gets revealed near the end why she's keeping them captive, I then get her motive. Because she's just holding on to every little piece that she can. I'm just going to say it. There is no Lauren. I believe Lauren died. I don't remember if they explained exactly how, or maybe it was the virus. Or
Yeah, not too much. Just a little bit.
Right. It was very vague on that. But I could tell the way she was acting, her persona, the way she carried herself. Laura's not in the picture. Her daughter's gone. So, two parents suffering, or so you think. The two parents are suffering. Really, it's mom suffering. I felt I did like the story. My confusion, and this is again from the beginning, I like the setup. Then I get confused, and now I'm even more confused because I felt like we went from a post-apocalyptic world to now a psychological horror. So I felt like I was watching two films. And so I felt like there was so much potential, but I'm going to dive deeper near the end on my final thoughts with that.
Yeah, I liked the fact that here you have Clara, who's obviously she lived at home. You could tell she was basically a living at home wife. Hank, her husband, was a cop. We were led to believe that he was out there doing the work, and whenever this outbreak happened, fortunately Lauren's daughter was caught in the crossfires of it, and they don't really. They don't explain if she died or she was taken, because you don't really know. She's not there anymore, and the same thing happened with Fitz and his kid, and that's the relationship they had going. But for me, I thought it was interesting because here you have someone who's trying to replace, and we've seen this in other films where someone is trying to replace, a child they lost. And I'll be honest, as I'm watching this film, I'm thinking, even though we know eventually is hiding within the house, but you're saying here thing, I was like, hold up, man, if you're married, they were gonna leave your ass behind.
Mm-hmm.
I know Claire is unstable, but you don't have to run anymore, and she'll protect you. So there was a lot of questions in Mary's perspective of, I understand she wants to survive, she wants to get out, she doesn't want to be there, she's concerned, she doesn't trust Clara. She kind of drugged you up, before you guys even try to steal her car. So there was questionable stuff with Claire anyways. But the fact that immediately she isolated, Mary, to the point where she showed that she wanted to have this relationship with Mary, where unfortunately she's trying, she's dressing up as Lauren. So there was a lot of stuff as far as her character goes. I mean, I love the scenes with Clara. I think they're amazing scenes, especially
100%.
when they're trying to, like the girl's trying to sneak out, and then she's buried behind her.
Right.
Sneaky bee, she calls her.
I felt like Clara and Mary definitely carried this film. Like without them, this film would have flopped for sure.
No, they definitely did. I mean, I think there should have been more to it. I think that.
Hmm.
I mean, I'll get more into later, but I just think that there was certain aspects of the film that I felt were left out, and which kind of segues into one of probably the main talking point that we're going to have in this movie is because I did look at some of the reviews, people left for this film, and they seem to be consistent on what the critique was. Is you read the synopsis of this film and you're expecting some kind of massive zombie outbreak, and it's not exactly what we get. I'll be honest, I'm still uncertain what we got because
I agree.
what eventually happens is we find out later in the film that Hank is in the basement and some kind of maze thing that's down there. I don't know who set it up. I don't know how it got set up, but Claire is feeding people to him. And this is one aspect of the film is that the whole time I'm watching the film, I'm kind of wondering when's this virus going to come out. I mean, do you think the fact that we didn't get that kind of held this film back?
Absolutely, because you set up the cold open of a zombie apocalypse vibe film. So I'm thinking, oh my God, these children who are asymptomatic. Like I was expecting to see them on the run, fighting for their life. They're running from adults that are affected. And they said something about 18 and older is when they become symptomatic. At least that was my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong. But that was my take on it. And then these kids in this film I felt like Ben was the oldest, the way he was turning. He was shot. I believe, I think he was shot by the Clara, but he's losing a lot of blood. He's I thought he was fixed up, but then he's starting to get weak again out of fucking nowhere. And so, unless he got shot again, I don't remember him getting shot twice. So he was really losing blood and getting sick. And I'm assuming he's like 17, almost 18. Now he's starting to feel the symptoms. But I was confused when, they all get to escape. And now Jeffy's sister is, you see the veins on her. I'm just confused. I'm like, so are they asymptomatic or not? Because I see that she gets bit. I'm like, okay, cool. She's safe. She's under 18. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way. I was confused. Again, from the beginning to end, I'm confused on what's going on because we skipped the whole virus, the whole film. Like, we didn't get back into it. How did it start? Where did it come from? Why did the scientists and people in charge feel like kids were asymptomatic when obviously through Jeffy's sister, through everybody in the cast, like, I think all kids die except Jeffy and Mary. So I'm like, and you see when he's in the car at the end, there's a bite mark right there, but he's not turning. So I'm confused. Maybe these kids who don't turn are the cure. I don't know. I just think of these things as I'm watching. I'm like, so it does lack when you set it up that way. And then, like I said, I felt like we were in this zombie apocalypse film and it turned into a psychological horror between Mary and Clara and trying to make Mary Lauren. I think that's what I got from it. Now, when you throw the husband near the end, okay, now we're back to the original plot. So I'm like, you put it in the beginning and the end, but you left a psychological in the middle. So it didn't carry through for me. It didn't carry through.
No, that's the biggest complaint I read was that we were sold on a zombie film and it didn't feel like a zombie film at all. It didn't even feel like it was, as far as being in the near future, because I to be honest, what threw me off right off the bat was, all right, so this is a zombie apocalypse, but then they're going to the store. okay, so now, if people are wary of kids, but yet the store clerk's not acting like she's, here's kids that come in, even though Ben had a fake ID, but, Hefty's
Mhm.
sister, she's there and she looks like she's, 14, 15. So you have a lot of massive plot holes in this film because
100%.
then when Fitz shows up, I got even more confused. Like, hold on, so where? I don't understand where are the zombies in this? And this is the problem with trying to have too much ambiguity is when you're watching a movie and the background is a newscast of what's going on. Majority of times, people are not picking up on that because we're looking at the characters that are there. So
Mhm.
when you're trying to mention that in the background, it's not setting in well because you're not paying attention to that. You're paying attention to the moment, what's happening now. And I
Right.
think that hurt this film because, like, I'm watching, I'm sitting there like, I don't know what I'm watching. I love the character, like I said, Clara Mary, but
Mhm.
anything outside that storyline felt almost irrelevant
A hundred
because
percent.
this is like the same critique I had when we talked about The Last of Us when we did the
Mhm.
series where you get certain feels that these things are supposed to be out there, but you're not showing them. And for me, I would have loved to seen an infected coming through and have Claire basically shoot it to show, look, I'm protecting you guys, just to add a little bit more of her trying to gain their trust to basically sacrifice them later. But it just
Yeah.
seemed like it didn't. I don't know if it's the writing. I don't know if it was the directing or they cut out certain parts of this film. But you cannot sell us on a virus and not show the virus. And then when they showed it at the end, like you're saying, it was confusing and it felt kind of lazy. It's like, all right,
Right.
so if Ben got shot and he's infected because the
Right.
wound the wound itself is infected. So would that trigger the virus as well, not just getting bit?
Yeah, he
It's
wasn't bit. He
no,
was airborne.
yeah. I mean, he's wounded. If he has the virus in him, when would it take hold if you're dying? Because it's just there was a lot of stuff that didn't
That's
make
a
sense.
whole Walking Dead vibe too, because if you remember back in Walking Dead, they discover no matter what you turn, whether you're shot, murdered by somebody else, uh,
If you die, you
that's
come
the
back.
vibe I got. Yeah,
And
you
this
die, you
one,
come back, and that's
yeah,
how I felt. When looking at Ben again, he was shot by Clara. He was never bit by anybody, and I mean, we didn't get any zombies except the dad. So just one zombie. I mean, I guess I get it from a perspective that they're trying to sell the fact that again, the zombie apocalypse is children under 18 are saved. Again, my perspective, adults above 18 all infected and a majority of the population's wiped out, majority of the adults. So, yeah.
yeah, it's too many
Many
plot
plot
holes.
holes.
Yeah, because even you had another thing too. Is like, all right, so you're feeding Hank just children, but if these children get bit, would they turn right away? Would he stop feeding on them? So there was just too much questions I was having, and
Mhm.
I go back to like, all right, and I agree with what you were saying earlier. Is like you're watching two different films.
Mhm.
You're watching maybe like a total of like 6 7 minutes that has to do anything with like a zombie type apocalypse, and the rest of it is like a psychological horror of a group of kids that stumble upon this home, and the person who lives in the house has a dark secret that she's sacrificing people to keep her husband fed.
Mhm.
I mean, and then again, if
Yeah,
you're
it's
the
a
cop,
psychological breakdown.
yeah, if you're Fitz, this is too much of I'm going to believe everything she says and not basically bring more people to her house and doing this, spec stuff. So it's just there was a lot of plows, and it's unfortunate because a lot of the criticism of this film, they said that this film had the potential to be really good, and one person actually commented, "Well, just because you have the last name of a all time great director doesn't mean you're doing the same thing. Which I
Right.
think that's a
And
little
that's why I
bit.
picked this film, because I saw that it was the daughter of Steven Spielberg. And so I wanted to give it a chance. I loved the title. Like, what? How you gonna not feed your child? So I was nosy. And then it's the daughter of Steven Spielberg. I was definitely lured in by that fact alone. And sorry, boo, it flopped.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of, like I said, like the character Claire was just, she was the best character of the whole film.
Clara and
And
Mary were the
yeah,
best, yeah.
and
And
I
even
still,
bits of Fitz too, but we didn't get a lot of him.
I love Giancarlo, man. Giancarlo's freaking
Yeah.
awesome. So yeah, let's wrap it up. Well, overall, like when we do this film, we do the story elements of the film, the character, basically everything that has to do with a good story as far as the film goes. So, Lexi, what do you rate this 1 through 5?
For me, it's definitely going to be a 2 because I wanted to like it. I loved the setup. You sold me on a zombie apocalypse and it was different. It set itself different from every other zombie apocalypse where I never seen one where it was children versus adults. And so I thought that was interesting. There's no cure, which that's typical in every zombie film, unless you're Ellie from The Last of Us, who doesn't get infected at all. But then you sort of lie to us, and the kids do get infected at the end. And then they died, or unfortunately took themselves out because they didn't want to live that life, obviously. I did not like the fact that we saw a lot of heads blown off of children. That's like a limit for me in horror. So I was like, oh, but the title, Please Don't Feed the Children, you either going to set me up for a zombie apocalypse, which was fine. I liked the setup, but then you turned it into a psychological horror between a mother and a daughter. And okay, so what is Please Don't Feed the Children? Don't feed them what? Like the title doesn't go with the story. So that's why I give it a low score. I wanted to like it. I did like the setup. I loved Clara and Mary in the story, but pick one or the other: zombie apocalypse or psychological horror.
Nah, I give it a 2.5. The only reason I give it a little bit more is because the Clara character and the environment and the scenery of the film. I mean,
Mhm.
I thought that was like I said, beautiful house. I love the fact that even though it's a big house and we're secluded, it's only a couple of rooms, which that kind of, I
Yeah.
want to see more of the house itself. But like for me, yeah, I mean, I just feel like it was like one of those things I'm expecting to see a zombie film, and that's not what I got. We get Hank and stuff. He's infected. I would like to know how he got infected. Did Lauren get him infected? I mean, give it a little bit more of a deeper. If you're gonna go that route, to seclude it to the character Hank, Clara, and what happened to their daughter, and then throw Mary into the loop, that's the way to do it, because you gave us sprinkles here and there, little breadcrumbs, but it didn't like give feed my appetite, for wanting more of this film. It's just one of those things. As I'm watching it, I didn't lose interest though. I'll be honest. I
I
watched it.
didn't.
I didn't lose
Yeah.
any interest. It kept my interest going because I wanted to see what was going to happen between Mary and Clara. But the fact that I didn't get to see, or you got to see Hank. Yes, take Hank out of the equation. Everything else had to do with the virus was television, was in the background, which it doesn't work if you do it all the time. And this film did it most of the time, where I would rather have seen, if you're going to do it that way, have Clara sitting down watching television and Mary's next to her and they're talking to there's a newscast about the virus. Have Mary present while they're discussing about this virus, because, Clara's anger to the world is the fact that obviously there was some issues with her and Hank that, made it seem like he was controlling. So did his control, was it one of the things that led to whatever happened to Lauren? So there was a lot of stuff that there's too many gaps in the story, and they didn't do a good job closing the gaps. I wanted to know more. I wanted more of the virus. I mean, if you could have had
Right.
these characters like relive, like what happened to their parents or how they became orphans. I mean, there was a lot in this film that could work. I think this is one of these films that if you translate it into probably a series, you'll get more out of it.
Right. I needed more. Like if
Yes.
the second one came out, I'd be willing to watch it because I needed more. I want to like this film. It's not bad. I think it's worth a watch, but be prepared to be, sorry to say it, bored out of your fucking mind because I was bored. I paused it I don't know how many times and I say that with respect, honestly, to, the daughter of Spielberg, but, I want more from this film. I think there, like you said, there could have been so much more to add the virus in there. Like, I mean, please don't feed okay, how about please don't feed Hank? like, I wanted to see, okay, I think Hank should have came in way earlier into the picture. The plot twist of Hank coming in was the last 10 minutes. And I think he needed to come in way earlier and then slowly. And again, my limit is hurting children in what we saw violence wise with the children. It was horrific, especially with Lily, Mary's sister. But if you're going to go that route, go all the way, like start slowly. If you're not listening, like as Clara, if you're not listening, get your ass in the basement. What was the point of the shower thing? Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Just straight feed the child to Hank. I would just make it. You've already tortured these children. They're already going through a lot. Just finish what you started by feeding slowly to the children to Hank. I want to see the torture. And I say that very lightly, but I'm saying like, if I were to rewrite this, you're going to go that route, go all the way. Start. If you're not going to listen of the rules of my house, then I'm feeding you to Hank. That's how I would rewrite it. Like I wanted to see more of the virus and Hank should have came way earlier. I don't know. This whole thing could have been rewritten and that's just one film. Now, if you want to erase the whole virus thing out and just random kids who are trying to rob a store and end up at a farmhouse, now it's psychological horror. Now you have a whole different film. No virus involved at all. Yeah. Just a crazy, scary monster. They don't understand what's wrong with Hank. Then you can introduce the virus near the end. And still, you would want a sequel because you want to know more about Hank and how did he become a zombie. No. Yeah, so I just wrote two films.
Yeah, it's just this film, I think, is an hour and 34 minutes, I believe. I mean, they could have used another 26 minutes, to be honest, because it has to be. You could have had some background, a little bit more into the, what exactly happened to Clara, and like I said, ambiguity is a good thing in films, but this when it doesn't work, it shows. And this one, it didn't work.
It did. And I felt like you also didn't need all the kids up in the attic. Like they were going to take off and leave Mary anyway. Then go ahead and take off and let this drama between mother and daughter or fake daughter. Let that trauma go down. Like we didn't need anybody in the attic. We wanted to see Mary's escape and yeah, I don't know.
I still believe I'm Mary. They're about to leave you. Why are you going to fight for them? What's the whole point of fighting for them? I mean, just sit there and use
and
Claire.
They're still nagging at her even when she was trying to help.
Yeah. Yeah. This film, I mean, could have been a lot better. I mean, like I said, I watched the whole thing. It was on Tubi, so you get the commercial breaks, which you need the commercial breaks in this film to try to sit there and be like, all right, where are they going?
What did
next?
I just watch?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely watch it. Let us know what you think. Please don't feed the children. Streaming on Tubi. Believe it's a Tubi original. Mm-hmm. Let us know what you think of this film. I mean, we have more coming your way. We have something that's similar to this film, but a whole different direction, which I'm
still glad we talked about it though, because we can't. I mean, we're not going to like everything we watch, right? No. Let's bring up Z.
No, we're not. But this is what we're doing. We search the stories, we search the slow burns, and see, if they're worth the watch. And so this one had a lot of.
And that's
potential.
the whole point. Is the story was good. We just need more.
A lot more. I mean, don't throw virus. That's like false advertisement.
It was.
Just don't do that. Imagine all the people that if this would have came out in the movie theater, they would have been pissed because
100%.
Oh, we're gonna go see a zombie movie. No, there's probably zombies. Probably told like 4 minutes the whole film.
But I
If
also
you,
want more from Mrs. Spielberg. Like I do find like her if is her first film. This her
this is
first
her
one.
first feature film. She's done 2 short
Oh,
films, and she has another one in the works.
okay. I would like to see more of her because I felt like this is a strong start. It does need a lot more work, but it was a strong start, and it's still worth the watch.
No, it is. Like I said, watch it. Let us know what you think about it, and we're curious your thoughts on, especially on this one. Um,
Yeah.
when we do the other film, which I'll mention, well, when it comes out, it comes out. The other one we're gonna do, but that was gonna be interesting too because it kind of shows the difference between this film and that film. I'm definitely curious on Lexi's reaction when she sees the other film I'm talking about. So, till next time, this is JR. That is my co-host, the lovely Lexi, the fourth corner, for another episode of What's Your Story. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. We have a lot coming your way for this season of What's Your Story and different type of films that we're anxious to talk about. And we will have guests joining us to talk about those films. So, till next time, peace.